All right, well, let's get started. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands in which we meet today and pass my respect to elders past and present. Would also like to extend that same respect to any Torres Strait Island people that might be joining the call today. I am calling in from Wurundjeri lands, so pay special respect to those peoples as well. So welcome everybody, and thank you for attending our digital marketplace information session for our buyers. This is a really important session, and we've done a few of these now, and we're going to record this one. There are going to be further sessions that we will run to support both information and also to provide some demos around how the digital marketplace is working, also how you can run different types of RFX processes for the different state purchasing contracts that are currently available on the system. But firstly, I thought it would be really good to provide you some context. So my name's Sam Gillespie. I'm the Director of HoloGov IT Strategic Sourcing and Digital. I look after the team that manages all of our state purchasing contracts here for the state of Victoria and our registers and panels, and also am the sponsor for the digital marketplace program. So where did we come from? This has been about an 18-month, 24-month process in regards to setting up and standing up our digital marketplace. So initially, it started with a review of our e-services register and IT infrastructure register, which people hopefully are familiar with. They'd been around for a number of years, and we really wanted to understand how we could improve on the service and experience that government was getting purchasing through those mandated state purchasing contracts. One of the things we realised pretty quickly after around 200 engagements with industry and hundreds of engagements back into the VPS was that the registers, albeit were created under good intent and were working for a long time well, there was a massive opportunity to improve on how we could support government buyers interacting with our industry partners. And we started to put together a business case around how that would potentially work. So we formed working groups. We created a steering committee, which included VGPB board members. It had CIOs, CPOs across government. And ultimately, we started to shape what we thought was an opportunity for the state in regards to really shifting the dial, especially in alignment with the digital strategy of 2021, and also looking at what other jurisdictions were doing with their whole of government contracts and how they were being accessed. And the concept of our digital marketplace was born. And the key things that we really wanted to focus in on was how do we improve and increase the speed to market? How do we look at our contractual frameworks and make sure that they're better and more fit for purpose in regards to supporting all types of government engaging with industry, and on the other side of that, supporting industry that wants to engage with government, and making sure that we were using more common language. You didn't have to be a lawyer to get through them, and also we weren't spending endless hours sort of renegotiating and talking to things that really should be just agreed, and then we support buyers engaging on the requirements and the goods and services they're looking to buy. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we get through the presentation. We also wanted to make sure that we could share a bigger piece of the government pie with our industry partners. What typically happens is government works really closely with, a small portion of our industry partners, and we really wanted to grow that and to share and provide opportunities back out to industry, and also give buyers the power and the information to actually support how that would work. And the other thing was we also wanted to be able to use our digital marketplace as a lever to support the government of the day's policy initiations to support different types of behaviours, to encourage different types of engagement with different parts of industry, whether that's Indigenous or social procurement. And we looked at what a lot of the other jurisdictions were doing, and we basically took what was best practice from the UK, from New Zealand, from our federal counterparts, and started to sort of shape up what we thought the opportunity was for here in Victoria. So at a high level, that's what the digital marketplace is, and we've got a video that we'll play in a minute, and hopefully that'll be nice and clear, and we'll reiterate what I've just spoken about.
The Victorian Government is streamlining the way businesses supply goods and services to government. Introducing Digital Marketplace, a central, easy-to-access online environment for Victorian Government buyers and suppliers to connect. It simplifies how the Victorian Government buys products and services from businesses through Victoria's state purchasing contracts and registers, and improves the way businesses engage with the government. Digital Marketplace digitises the procurement process, making it quicker and easier by enabling businesses to provide the right information all in one place through requests for supplier information and quotes, simplified contractual agreements, advanced search features, and centralised contact information. To learn more, go to buyingfor.vic.gov.au.
I just wanted to say thank you. You can see there's 175 people plus on the call today. So thank you so much for your support and engagement. This is really important, and there's a lot of people working really hard. So just a big call out to everyone who's joined the call. So the video provided that really high level view. And as we start to get into a little bit more detail, which we'll talk to here, it's important to sort of talk about the strategy and some of the other things that the digital marketplace allows us to really support. So the e-services and IT infrastructure registers, although that was the starting point, what we realised really quickly with direction from our steering committee was there was no reason why we couldn't create an environment where all state purchasing contracts could be accessed and centralised through that single place, which would really simplify the way that industry and government came together. That would create a single standardised way of engaging with government and place a single place or a single source of truth for government in regards to state purchasing contracts, and just a repeatable process to allow that engagement that I spoke a little bit earlier again on. The other thing was we wanted to make sure that when we looked at capability across government, it's really important that we support all types of different parts of government, whether it's a council, whether it's an authority, whether it's a department, any government entity, and there are thousands, that we cater for all of the complexity that comes with running some sort of RFX process, but we do that in the background, all the compliance, all of the things around insurances for the suppliers, all of that stuff has been managed so that you don't have to worry about it. So we wanted to kind of, some of the stuff we pushed back out into the ecosystem, we wanted to bring that in and then provide that as a seamless experience back out to our government buyers. And this is a 5-year program where, like I said, we're about 18 months in, so we have got a little bit of work to do. So please bear with us and be patient, but we've made some pretty big strides in that regard. And some of the things that we've already put in place is we've got validation processes that are working in the background to look at the types of businesses from a tax office perspective, from a social traders, from a Kinaway perspective. We're doing validations on the way that suppliers are classifying their types of services. So there's some really good smarts that have been made available, and that'll continue to evolve as the program continues over the next few months and years, I should say. We also wanted to support the way that different types of industry, whether it's a small or social or a startup, could become more visible, and that would mean that they would get, I guess, a greater opportunity in terms of securing that some of the government work that's coming through. So we've got different badges that are now assigned through that validation process I just spoke about, which then comes up as you're looking for a particular good or service against a category. You'll be actually able to see what type of badge the supplier has that's been aligned to them. And I think, from talking to some of the other jurisdictions, that's resulted in significant improvement and opportunity for those type of organisations. So we're keen to test that, and we're obviously collecting a huge amount of data, which we'll do over the next few years. The other thing which is really, really important from a government perspective is it does give us an opportunity to create and process a huge amount of information and data. The way that it works today is, depending on what type of state purchasing contract you might be looking to leverage or use, you will engage with the suppliers in many different ways. It might be direct through email, it might be for a phone call, it might be through the supplier's particular system of choice. And that can be really, really confusing. So we want to bring all that together. And then the information that is collected through our marketplace is then created in secured in a data lake type of environment. And the idea is that we'll make that information back available through a self-serve capability to government entities. So that will support some of the reporting requirements that you have. And in time, it will ultimately mean that there'll be massive efficiencies in regards to some of the things we have to do from our annual VGPB reporting, or whether it's our annual reports. We're looking to really make that easier. And that's coming, and we're working really, really hard on that. The platform's pretty early. It only went live, I think, in September for DGS, DPC, and DTF. And we currently have 6 state contracts on there. We've got Salesforce, Citrix, ServiceNow. Google's going to go on soon. If people haven't had a look at that, that's our newest one that the state's just secured a partnership arrangement with. But those will be going on there, and obviously e-services. So it's pretty exciting, and yeah, please go and have a look, get registered, and yeah, have a bit of a play and see what you think. The other part which we're working on, this is for e-services specifically, is around how do we improve the contractual terms. One of the pieces of feedback we heard was that the e-services and ICT infrastructure contracts there was a lot of negotiation that was happening between the suppliers that had agreed to provide services under those frameworks and the different purchasing entities, which was just wasting a lot of time and was slowing the whole process down. We looked at the things like the professional advisory services. We looked at other examples of where we had stronger contractual terms in place, and the feedback from industry was they also liked those type of engagements, because once those things were agreed, then literally it's just about what we're looking to buy and sell under the under whole of government state contracts, which is really what we need to move to. And we're very, very close to having that new contract, which is our short form contract, which people might be happy to hear, goes from about 140 pages down to about 40, which has also been socialised across OGCs across government as well. So that is coming soon, and we're just starting to put together our change plan to support that. Now, that'll mainly impact industry. From a buyer perspective, that'll just be a benefit that that people will get as part of the new digital marketplace and e-services registers. The other thing that we did, we saw a massive opportunity with the inception of Department of Government Services around this program, which was called Supplier Hub. The Supplier Hub, this is something that I always find interesting. So the Supplier Hub's goal was to start to look at how do we consolidate all supplier information into a single place, and then make it available back to government so that suppliers don't have to continually register with each of the different entities that they're trying to do business with. And from a buyer perspective, I know that would be frustrating also, because ultimately you have to get that added into the finance systems. There's a validation process, and that's happening over and over again. So wouldn't it be nice to have a seamless way of pulling that information out from a central source, which is what our Supplier Hub as part of Digital Marketplace will be, and then being able to just pull that straight into your systems and know that that information's all been validated, which is where our Supplier Hub program has also come from. Now that's also up and available, and one of the things we're really encouraging buyers to do is to encourage the different parts of our supplier partners and everyone that you do business with to go and make sure that they're registered, because we want to get as many people in under that under the Supplier Hub banner as quickly as we can, because the faster we do that, the quicker we'll be able to move to realise the full benefit of that and save everybody some time and effort. So with that, I'll head to our next video.
Introducing Supplier Hub, A central online environment where businesses interested in supplying goods and services to the Victorian Government can self-register their business details and easily outline their service offering to government buyers. You won't have to register your details in multiple systems with numerous government departments because Supplier Hub stores your business information in one central place for all buyers to access, reducing duplication and the time it takes you to update your details in multiple places. With Supplier Hub, businesses can update contact information, manage profile details, upload insurance and accreditation certificates, as well as keep up to date with communications on policy updates and announcements on state purchasing contracts and registers. Registration is open right now and takes less than 15 minutes. To learn more and register your business with the Victorian Government, go to buying4.vic.gov.au. Introducing Supplier Hub.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so the technology is one part of it, and anybody on the call will know that that's actually probably one of the easiest things to do, but actually managing the change has been one of the more difficult things that the team have had to support. And the reason for that is there's a huge amount of supplier and buyer information that we have, but there's also been a lot of change. And the details of those type of especially from a supplier perspective, we can validate generally government from a VPS perspective, but from a supplier perspective, it does mean that if someone has left an organisation and they haven't transferred the account to somebody else, or if people just haven't engaged with government for a period of time, it's really, really hard to get through. Now, we've had, I think, over 600 or 700 suppliers attend webinars. We've sent out multiple communications. We've created a marketplace industry advisory group where we've got representations across industry, the AIIA. We've got lots of people making sure that we are managing this change well, including the PCB that we have. But that doesn't mean we can get through to everyone. And one of the challenges that we're seeing is that when we took everybody across from the previous environment into the legacy services into our new one, we also didn't want to put suppliers at a disadvantage. So we took them all across and we asked them to validate their information, update their categories, which are now more simplified, and also to ensure that all of the contact information, their insurances, and their certifications were in place. And we've done really well. I think we've done over 1,000 of those now, which is good, but there's still a handful, or quite a large proportion, that we haven't been able to connect with, that we still need to get that done. Now, when you're completing an RFQ, which when you see the demo, Josie will call out for you, if they haven't actually met the certification requirement to provide services to government, although you'll be able to see them because at some point they've been registered, they will not be able to respond to an RFQ. In fact, your RFQ will not be able to go out until they provide the required details to provide services, which is really around valid insurance certificates, which is important from managing a risk perspective. So what we're asking for is if you have a situation where you've worked with a supplier or you're running an RFX and you want to go out and get a supplier to respond and they haven't got the certification, we'll just send them to the registration process, which is on the Bind for Vic pages, which the guys will put up a link for you shortly. And we've built in quite a bit of efficiency where we can actually get suppliers registered literally within about half an hour now, where it used to take up to sort of 4 or 5 days. So there's not a massive impost, but it is something that, it's hard to get that messaging out. And if we're not able to connect with those suppliers directly, the best way to connect with them is through your contacts and the people that you're dealing with often, because we really do want them, all of those different suppliers to be in Marketplace and Supplier Hub providing services. So that's probably the key message from me.
Hi everyone, my name's Josie Franco. I'm the Change Manager for Digital Marketplace and Supplier Hub. So I'm just going to run you through a quick demonstration of Digital Marketplace and Supplier Hub. And the first thing we're going to do is register. So when you come to the home page, click the register link down here, and then it'll take you through to a buyer registration page, and all you'll need to do is type in your buyer registration. Type in your buyer details. And then your contact number. And then select the sign up button. Once you select the sign up button, you'll go through a authentication process, and the system will require you to undertake multi-factor authentication. So I'm going to now pretend that I'm a buyer, and I'll log into the system using my authentication, and I will log in as a buyer. So once you log into the system, you'll arrive at the home page, and you'll see here that there is some specific information that links out to Buying for Vic around SPCs and purchasing practices, and the help and support page. Help and support is where you'll find FAQs, some user guides, and some getting started tutorials. From the buy page, I can also access Supplier Hub. So this is where you'll be able to, and I might just zoom in a little bit. This is where you'll be able to search for suppliers using the search supplier link. Searching for suppliers is really easy. You can select the e-services register, and it will give you a list of suppliers using the e-services register. You can also select suppliers using the supplier identifiers, and you can also select suppliers using a regional or location filter. The other way that you can select suppliers or view suppliers is using the keyword search. So you can use any kind of string. You can use a string to search suppliers, or you can, if you know the name of the supplier, you can also search via the name. And soon you'll be able to create a supplier list using this search function. Going to go back to Digital Marketplace, and I'm going to now create a request for quote. To do that, I'll go to the buy page and select the e-services register. So as part of creating a request for quote or information, you'll be asked as a buyer to request access to the e-services register before you can create a quote. And it's the same kind of process as registration. Select the request for quote. Sorry, I should have just gone back there. You can also, once you have access to the specific SPC, you'll be able to view information about that SPC if they link out to their own website, and view the confidential documents and pricing that's associated with that SPC. Select the request for quote, and you'll be presented with information that you'll need to consider as a buyer as part of creating a request. Select the starter RFQ, and you'll see that it has already pre-populated my information as the lead buyer on this RFQ. To add team members to this particular RFQ so that they can contribute or add information to this RFQ and manage questions and answers from suppliers, you'll need to add them to this RFQ. So they need to be registered on Digital Marketplace and also have access to that particular SPC in order to appear in the drop-down list. Select the person that you want to add and then click Add. you'll be able to remove that person simply by selecting the remove button. Adding in your phone number. And it will pre-populate with your buyer details. The contact email for suppliers is the contact email that suppliers will use if you have a shared inbox to manage any supplier questions, but we would encourage you to manage these questions through the question and answer feature. Select Save and Continue. Put in your title of your RFQ, and this is where you would add in your description. In the description box, what we would encourage you to do is add a summary of the description in the description box as much as possible, and if you have extensive detailed description, then upload an attachment for suppliers to review. Click the Save and Continue. In the timeframe and budget page, this automatically closes. There's a checkbox here to automatically close the RFQ if all suppliers have responded. If you select this checkbox, it will, as soon as all suppliers have responded and a decline is considered a response, as soon as all suppliers have responded to the RFQ will be made available to the buyer, and you'll be able to view the responses received. If you want the RFQ to go to the full time for responding, don't select the checkbox. In the RFQ timeframes, you've got a closing date for the RFQ, and you can select the calendar icon to select the closing date. And similarly, for the last day for the suppliers to ask questions, you can select the last date for suppliers to ask questions, and that will be the date that's enforced. With the budget, we've got a drop-down menu for the budget that is allocated to your RFQ, and this is not visible to suppliers. This is only for buyer information. Contract timeframes. We would encourage you to select a contract timeframe that is 1 month past the closing date to enable you to review supplier responses and go through the evaluation and award state. We've also got some drop downs for the expected contract duration and any extension terms. If you select other, there'll be a box that will allow you to nominate a time frame. And you can also select the number of extensions as part of your RFQ process. Then once you're happy with that information, select Save and Continue.
Josie, there's a question here regarding choosing a time for closing at end of question period. Like you can choose the date, but is there a time that you can specify?
No, it's set to 12 midnight at this point in time.
Yeah, we are looking at that in terms of adding some flexibility, and though for people that are keen to have that in place, so that'll come through a subsequent release. So you will have some flexibility and time on that.
Okay, so we're getting now to the Who Can Respond page, and this is where you would select your suppliers. The first thing you need to do is select the categories that you would like to review or select suppliers from. And again, you can search for suppliers using the supplier name or using the string. So I'm just going to find suppliers using the string, and I'm going to select 3 suppliers. Once I find the suppliers that I want to add, I can scroll down and select the selected suppliers, and those suppliers will be incorporated into this supplier list down below. I'm just going to find another supplier. And select this supplier and invite them to the there we go. Once you select your suppliers and invite them to add them to the invited supplier lists, you may see a warning. This warning, if you hover over the warning sign, will let you know that that supplier may not meet the minimum requirements to participate in the RFQ. There might be something wrong with their supplier profile, then their insurance might be out of date. There might be many reasons why that particular supplier hasn't met the minimum requirements to be able to participate. At this point in time, what you'll need to do is either contact the supplier and ask them to update their profile details in Supplier Hub, or remove them from the RFQ process and either wait until that supplier updates their profile to re-add them, or proceed with the RFQ without that supplier. Once you're satisfied with the suppliers you want to invite, select the Save and Continue button. It brings you to a Terms and Conditions page. Click the Acknowledgement checkbox and click Save and Continue. This will bring you to a review page, and this is where you'll be presented with a summary view of your RFQ. You can edit any sections of the RFQ draft using the edit buttons on the right or navigating through the page menus on the left. Once you're satisfied with the information in the RFQ, scroll down to the bottom and select Release the RFQ. This will give you a RFQ quote number, which will be visible in your buyer dashboard. And here it is, the RFQ that we've just raised, and you'll see that it's in the open state and it has 30 days remaining before the close. And that's how you create an RFQ.
Excellent. Thanks, Joyce.